The NPR and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on air in War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and the star of these broadcasts, Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's. And yet, as mortal as his own, we know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours to the beasts of the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. In the 39th year of the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment. It was near the end of October. Business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 18th, the Crossley service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
For the next 24 hours, not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain, accompanied by a wind of light to gale. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. The weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We now take you to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where we'll be entertained by the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City, we bring you the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra. With a touch of the Spanish, Ramon Raquello leaves off with La Comparsita.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Ramon Raquello playing for you in the Meridian Room at the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Now, a tune that never loses favor, the ever-popular Stardust, Ramon Raquello and his orchestra.
Ladies and gentlemen, following the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with a noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra. We are ready now to take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the Observatory of Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black except for an oblong slit in the ceiling. Through this opening, I see a sprinkling of stars that cast a sort of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any interruptions that may arise during our interview. Besides his ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications. During this period, he is in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in a blue sea. Transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now because Mars happens to be the point nearest the Earth, in opposition as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips.
I see.
Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited, from a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you are quite convinced as a scientist that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars?
I'd say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for these gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Mr. Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from the Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems a safe enough distance.
Thank you.
Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory in Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing world-famous astronomer Professor Pearson. Oh, one moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me a message, which he has just received. Professor, may I read this message to the listening audience?
Certainly, Mr. Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read to you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the National History Museum, New York. Quote, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismograph registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Unquote. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We return you now to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. Toronto, Canada. Professor Morse of Macmillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. Now, near home, comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we will have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word picture of the scene as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Malay and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music.
We now take you to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again, at the Wilmouth Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself have made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. Well, I hardly know where to begin. To paint for you a word picture of the strange scene before my eyes, like something out of a modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. Yes, I guess that's it. Yes, that's the thing, directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree it must have struck on its way down. What I can see of the object itself doesn't look much like a meteor, at least not meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson? What would you say, what is the diameter of this thing?
About 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal on the sheath is, well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is a sort of yellowish-white. Curious spectators are now pressing close to the object in spite of efforts of police to keep them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing one side there, please?
One side there, one side.
While the policemen are pushing the crowd back, here is Mr. Wilmoth, owner of the farm where this thing has fallen. He may have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Wilmoth, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you remember from this rather unusual visitor that's dropped in your backyard?
Well, I was listening to the radio.
Closer and louder, please.
Pardon me?
Closer, please, and louder.
Yes, sir. I was listening to the radio and kind of drowsing. That professor fellow was talking about Mars, so I was half dozing and half,
Yes,
you know.
yes, Mr. Wilmoth. And then what happened?
Well, as I was saying, I was listening to the radio kind of halfways, you know.
Yes, Mr. Wilmoth. And then you saw something.
Not first off, I heard something.
And what did you hear?
A hissing sound like this. Kind of like a 4th of July rocket.
Yes, then what?
I turned my head out the window and would have sworn I was to sleep and dreaming.
Yes?
I seen that kind of greenish drink and zingo! Something smacked to the ground for like 6 or 7 miles. Knocked me clear out of my chair.
Well, were you frightened, Mr. Wilmoth?
Well, I ain't quite sure. I reckon I was kind of wild.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmoth. Thank you very much.
You want me to tell some more?
Nope, that's quite all right. That's plenty. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Mr. Wilmoth, owner of the farm where this thing has fallen. I wish I could convey the atmosphere, the background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in a field back of us, and the police are trying to rope off the roadway leading into the farm, but it's no use. They're breaking right through. Cars' headlights throw an enormous spotlight on the pit where the object's half buried. Now some of the more daring souls are venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. One man wants to touch the thing. He's having an argument with a policeman. The policeman wins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all this excitement, but now it's becoming quite clear. Perhaps you've caught it already on your radio. Listen, please. Do you hear it? It's a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer now. Now we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Oh, Professor Pearson.
Yes, Mr. Phillips?
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I see. Do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not found on this Earth, but friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth and, as you can see, a cylindrical shape.
Just a minute. Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. The end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate and the thing must be hollow.
It's moving! It's moving!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing assists are those eyes. It might be a face, it might be... Good heavens! Something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one, and another one, and another one. They look like tentacles to me. I can see the thing's body now. It's large. Large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather, but that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it, so awful. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The monster, or whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's rising up now. And the crowd falls back now. They've seen plenty. This is the most extraordinary experience, ladies and gentlemen. I can't find words. I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in a moment.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening in the Wilma Farm, Grover Mill, New Jersey. We return you now to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, on a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilma's garden. From here, I can get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail, as long as I can talk, and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived now. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit, about 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with someone. I can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around to one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief, tied to a pole, a flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means... Wait a minute. Something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against the mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame streaming from the mirror. It leads right through the advancing men and strikes them head on. Good Lord, they're turning to flame. Now the whole field's caught fire. The woods, the barns, the gas tanks of automobiles. It's spreading everywhere. About 20 yards to my right. My left.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to the circumstances we are in control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we'll return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Linda Coffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. Just one moment, please. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you will hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I've been requested by the Governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east to Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith commanding the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into the pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. The combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Just one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you will hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by Direct Wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information, either to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that the creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It's my guess in some way they're able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of absolute no conductivity. This intensity they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in a Trenton hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police, Princeton Junction. The fires at Grover's Mill and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit, and there is no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from state militia at Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facilities. In the view of the gravity of the situation and believing that radio has a responsibility to serve the public at all times, we are turning over our facilities to state militia at approximately 6:07 o'clock.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps attached to the state militia, now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover Mills. Situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies directly in the pit below us, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All causes for alarm, if such cases ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their head above the pit. I can see their hiding places plainly in the glare of the searchlight here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it is an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the light. Looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods below the Millstone River, probably just fires started by the campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon when the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it will all be over. Now, wait a minute. I see something moving on the cylinder. Nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of Loomis Farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. A tub, rather. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal. Kind of shield-like affair arising up out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher. Why? It's standing on legs. Actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are on it. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, but the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes, led to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of the invading army from the planet Mars. The battle took place tonight at Grover's Mill has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia discontinued except routing of some trains through Allenstown and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will swell to Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. It is estimated to twice the normal population. Martial law prevails through New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. At this time, we take it to Washington for a special broadcast on the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall try not to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts this country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling from the studio here. We are informed the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effects of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment.
Here's a special bulletin in New York. Cables have been received from French, English, and German scientific bodies offering assistance.
Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The majority voiced the opinion that the enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines.
There have been several attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared he was lost in the recent battle.
Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes for 3 Martian machines visible above treetops moving north towards Somerville with population fleeting ahead of them. The heat ray is not in use, although advancing at express train speed, invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and countryside. However, they sought to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society.
Here's a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled upon a second cylinder, similar to the first, embedded in the Great Swamp 20 miles south of Morristown.
Army field pieces are proceeding from Newark to blow up second invading unit before cylinder can be opened and fighting machine rigged. They're taking position in the foothills of the Ouachita Mountains.
Another bulletin from Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward and kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown.
Machines also sighted by telephone operator east of Middlesex and 10 miles of Plainsfield.
Here's a bulletin from Winston Field, Long Island. A fleet of army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight.
Just a moment, please. Weaver, run special wires to the artillery line and adjacent villages to make direct reports in the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the field artillery located in the Ouachita Mountains.
Range 32 meters.
32 meters.
Projection 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
Fire!
140 yards to the right, sir.
Shift range 31 meters.
31 meters.
Projection 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire!
sir. We got the tripod of one of them. They've stopped. The others are trying to repair it.
Quick, get the range. You have 30 meters.
30 meters.
Projection 27 degrees.
27 degrees.
Fire!
Can't see the shell land, sir. They're letting off a smoke.
What is it?
A black smoke lying close to ground. It's moving this way. It's moving fast.
Put on gas masks. Get ready to fire. Shift to 24 meters.
24 meters.
Projection 24 degrees.
24 degrees.
Fire!
Still can't see, sir. The smoke's coming closer.
Get the range.
22 meters. 22.
23 meters.
23 meters.
22 degrees.
22 degrees.
Army bombing plane V-84 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Vogt, commanding 8 bombers, reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. This is Vogt reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. Enemy tripod now in sight, reinforced by 3 machines from Morristown cylinder. 6 altogether. 1 machine partially crippled, believed to be hit by a shell from Army gun in Watchtown Mountains. Guns now appear to be silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth of extreme density. Nature unknown. No sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective is New York City. They're pushing down a high-tension power station. The machines are close together now and we're ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. 1,000 yards and we'll be over the first 800 yards. 600 yards, 400 yards, 200. There they go. The giant arm raised. Green flash. They're spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. There's no chance to release the bombs. Only one thing left to do. Drop on them. Plane it all. We're diving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. Tell my sister that I love her. 8! This is Bayonne, New Jersey. Clyde Langenfield. This is Bayonne, New Jersey. Clyde Langenfield. Come in, please.
This is Langhamfield. Go ahead.
8 Army bombers engaging with enemy tripod machines over Jersey floods. Engines in capacity are heat rate. All crashed. 1 enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now destroying heavy black smoke in direction of.
This is Newark, New Jersey. This is Newark, New Jersey. Warning! Poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Jersey South Street. Gas masks useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use routes 6, 7, and 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke now spreading over Rainbow Boulevard.
To X12 calling CQ. To X12 calling CQ. To X12 calling AX3R. Come in, please.
This is AX3R, coming back at 2X2L.
House reception. House reception. Okay? Please? Where are you? X3R. What's the matter? Where are you?
Talking from the roof of the Broadcasting Building, New York City.
I'm also speaking from the roof of the Broadcasting Building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as the Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Huntington River Parkway still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island, hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army is wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end.
The people are holding a service here below us in the cathedral. And now I look down at the harbor. All manners of boats, overloaded with fleeing population, pulling out from the dock. Streets are all jammed. Noise of a crowd like New Year's Eve in the city. Oh, wait a minute. The enemy is now in sight above the palisades. Five great machines. First one's crossing the river. I can see it from here. Waiting the Hudson like a man waiting for the brook. Wolves are standing. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One in Chicago, St. Louis, seems to be timed and spaced. Oh, sorry. Now the first machine crossed the shore. He stands watching, looking over his city. His steel polished head is even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others, and they rise like a line of new towers in the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal heads. This is the end. Smoke comes out now, black smoke, drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running towards the East River. There are thousands of them, dropping like rats. Now the smoke's going faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 5th Avenue, no, 100 yards, 50.
Tuxtall calling, CQ. Tuxtall calling, CQ. Tuxtall calling, CQ. New York. Isn't there anyone there? Isn't there anyone there? Isn't there anyone? Tuxtall?
No traffic. Here and there a wrecked car, baggage overturned, and a blackened skeleton, but I push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters and running away from them, and I keep a careful watch. I have seen the Martians feed. Should one of their machines appear over top of the trees, I am ready to fling myself flat on the earth. I come to a chestnut tree. October. Chestnuts are ripe. I fill my pockets. I must keep going. 2 days, I wander in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. And finally, I notice a living creature. A small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him and wonder. He stares back at me. I believe at that moment the animal and I share the same emotion. The joy of finding another living being. I push on north. I find dead cows in a brackish field, and beyond the charred ruins of a dairy, the silo remains standing guard over the wasteland like a lighthouse deserted by sea. Astride the silo perches a weathercock. The arrow points north. Next day I come to a city vaguely familiar in its contours, yet its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off, as if a giant had sliced off its highest towers with the capricious sweep of his hand. I reached the outskirts. I found Newark, undemolished but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. And presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I catch sight of something being crouched in a doorway. I make a step towards it. It rose up and became a man armed with a large knife.
Stop! Where do you come from?
I come from many places. A long time ago, from Princeton.
Princeton, huh? That's near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. All this end of town, down to the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.
What was that? Did you hear that just now?
No. Only a bird. A live bird.
Yeah. You get to know that birds have shadows these days. Hey, we're in the open here. Let's crawl in this doorway here and talk.
Have you seen any, Martians?
Yeah. You get to know that bird. Nah. They've gone over to New York. At night, the sky is alive with their lights, just as if people were still living in it. By daylight, you can't see them. 5 days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the flats of the airport. I think they're learning how to fly.
Fly?
Yeah, fly.
Then it's all over with humanity. Stranger, there's still you and I. 2 of us left.
Yeah, they got themselves in solid. They wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars, they're probably falling somewhere else every night. They've only lost one machine. There isn't anything to do. We're done. We're licked.
Well, where were you? You're in uniform.
Yeah, what's left of it. I was in the militia. National Guard? That's good. There wasn't any war. Any more war than there is between men and ants.
Yes, but we're edible ants. I found that out. What'll they do with us?
I've thought it all out. Right now, we're caught as we're wanted. The Martians only has to go a few miles to get a crowd on the run, but they won't keep on doing that. They'll begin catching us systematic-like, keeping the best and storing us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun?
Not begun! All that's happened so far is because we don't have enough sense to keep quiet. Bothering them with guns and such stuff, and losing our heads, and running off in crowds. Now, instead of our rushing around blind, we've got to fix ourselves up. Fix ourselves up according to the way things are now. Cities, nations, civilizations, progress, done.
Yes, but if that's so, then what is there to live for?
Well, there won't be any more concerts for 1,000,000 years or so, and no nice little dinners at restaurants. If it's amusement you're after, I guess the game's up.
What is there left?
Life! That's what. I want to live. Yeah, and so do you. We're not going to be exterminated. And I don't mean to be caught either. Tamed and fattened and bred like an ox?
What are you gonna do?
I'm going on, right under their feet. I've got a plan. We as men are finished. We don't know enough. We've got to learn plenty before we've got a chance, and we've got to live and keep free while we learn. I've thought it all out, see.
Tell me the rest.
Well, if it's all of us that's made for wild beast, then that's what it's got to be. That's why I watched you. All these little office workers that used to live in these houses, they'd be no good. They haven't got any stuff in them. They used to run off to their work. I've seen hundreds of them, running to catch their community train in the morning, afraid they'd be canned if they didn't, and then running back at night, afraid they won't be in time for dinner. Lives insured and a little invested in case of accidents. Yeah, and on Sundays, worried about the hereafter. The Martians will be a godsend for those guys. Nice roomy cages, good food, careful breeding, no worries. And after a week or so of chasing about the fields on empty stomachs, they'll come and be glad to be caught.
You've thought it all out, haven't you?
Sure, you bet I have. That isn't all. These Martians, they're going to make pets of some of them, train them to do tricks. Who knows? Get sentimental over the boy who grew up and had to be killed? Yeah. And some, maybe, they'll train to hunt us.
No, that's impossible. No human being...
Yes, they will. There's men who'll do it gladly. If one of them ever comes after me, why?
In the meantime, you and I and others like us, where are we to live when the Martians own the Earth?
I've got it all figured out. We'll live underground. I've been thinking about the sewers. Under New York, there's miles and miles of them. The main ones are big enough for anything. And there's cellars, vaults, underground storerooms, railways, tunnels, subways. You begin to see it. We've got a bunch of strong men together, no weak ones. That rubbish out.
As you meant me to go?
Well, I gave you a chance, didn't I?
We won't quarrel about that. Go on.
Well, we've got to make a safe place for us to stay in, see? Get all the books we can, science books. That's where men like you come in, see? We'll raid the museums. We'll even spy on the Martians. It may even be in our time. Just imagine this. 4 or 5 of our own fighting machines suddenly go off. Heat rays, right and left. And not a Martian in them. Not a Martian in them, see? But men. Men who've learned the way how. It may even be in our time again. Gee, imagine having one of them lovely things with a heat ray wide and free. We turn it on Martians. We turn it on men. We bring everyone down on their knees.
That's your plan?
Yeah. You, me, a few more of us, we'd own the world.
I see.
Hey, what's the matter? Where are you going?
Not to your world! Bye, stranger. Well, after parting with the artillerymen, I came at last to the Holland Tunnel. I entered that silent tube, anxious to know the fate of the great city on the other side of Hudson. Cautiously, I came out of the tunnel and made my way up Canal Street. Near Columbus Circle, I noticed models of 1939 motor cars in the showrooms facing empty streets. From over the top of the General Motors building, I watched a flock of blackbirds circling the sky, but I hurried on. Suddenly, I caught sight of a hood of a Martian machine standing somewhere in Central Park, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. An insane idea. I rushed recklessly across Columbus Circle and into the park. I climbed a small hill above the pond of 16th Street, and from there, I could see, standing in a silent row along the mall, 19 of those great metal titans, their cowls empty, their steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. I looked in vain for the monsters that inhabit those machines. Suddenly, my eyes were attracted to the immense flock of blackbirds that hovered directly below me. They circled to the ground, and there, before my eyes, stark and silent, lay the Martians, with the hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, when the bodies were examined in the laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the putrefactive and diseased bacteria against which their systems were unprepared, slain. And after all man's defenses has failed, by the humblest thing that God in his wisdom has put upon this earth, before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life existed beyond the petty surface of our minute sphere. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful is the vision I have conjured up in my mind of life, spreading slowly from this little seabed of the solar system throughout the inanimate vastness of sidereal space. But that's a remote dream. And maybe that the destruction of the Martians is only a reprieve. To them, not to us. The future ordained. Perhaps. Strange it now seems to sit in my peaceful study at Princeton, writing down this last chapter of the record begun at a deserted farm in Grover's Mill. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling the green where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of a bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the disassembled parts of a Martian machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw it, bright and clean cut, hard and silent, under the dawn of that last great day.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Out of character to assure you that War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates by tomorrow night. So we did the next best thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the NVR. You'll be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it, and both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody. And remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. The grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch. And if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.
Tonight, the NVR and its affiliate stations coast to coast have brought you War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. We would like to thank a few people: the Barnstormer Theater, Kelly Pickerel, Jackie Arzadon, Holly McLaughlin, Tana Kamo, Mike and Kathy Hayes, and Heather Kisman for helping out with this production. This has been the North Valley Radio.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.